Hey guys, my name is Faisal Hashmi and today I want to talk to you about the single greatest filmmaking advice that I ever received. This advice was so useful to me. It changed the way that I think about films. It changed the way that I approach my career. It is something that I apply to films every single day up until today and will moving forward. And I want to share that advice to you because I think it's so useful for so many filmmakers to hear this, right? And this advice came to me from screenwriter William Martell. Now he has an awesome blog called Skip Secrets where he talks about films in a very similar fashion and just writing advice that has been really, really useful to me, especially if you're a genre filmmaker. So here he goes. The advice is write the film that you would want to watch. And the filmmaking version of that is make the film that you would want to watch. That seems like simple advice, but it's so profound. Let me break it down for you. Filmmaking is such a personal thing, right? It can take months, it can take years to make a film. It can cost a lot of time, it can cost a lot of money. So it takes a lot out of a person. And if you're not passionate about the thing that you're making, there's something that you're going to be spending so much time on out of your life, then what's the point? So the advice here is to make the film that you would pay to watch in cinemas if someone else would have made them. Now, think about that for a second. For me, that is genre films. I love horror movies. I love thrillers. I watch them every single week, every single day sometimes, right? These are the kind of movies that I love making. What is that for you? A lot of people, there's a big problem with chasing trends, right? When found footage movies became a thing, everybody was like, I'm gonna make a quick buck. I'm gonna write the next found footage movie. Or vampire movies are popular because of Twilight or whatever. Or gritty crime movies are popular. There's two main problems with that kind of thinking. First of all, the filmmaking process, as I mentioned, takes so long. It takes so long that by the time your film gets written, rewritten, you're probably either going to make it yourself or you're probably going to try to sell it. And then by the time it goes through the development process, it's going to be a couple of years. The problem with trends is they don't last that long, right? There's a burning period where suddenly everything is a hit and then suddenly they die down. So by the time your film actually does get made, that trend might not even be popular anymore. I mean, look at found footage films now. There was a mad rush to make found footage films. People ruined that entire genre and now people don't watch them anymore. And the genre is effectively dead until somebody else does something cool with it. The second thing is when you're making a film only for a trend, for cashing in on a trend because you think it's going to be successful because everybody's making those kind of films, your heart will not be in that film. When your heart is not in the film, you will not care about that kind of film because that's not the kind of film that you pay to watch anyway. If you're not a fan of musicals, but suddenly there's a big hit musical and you write a musical, you clearly don't care for musicals. You don't go to cinemas to watch them. So you don't care for that kind of movie. And if you don't care for that kind of movie, how can you expect your audience to care for that kind of film or for your characters? How can you expect your audience to give a shit about the kind of movie that you're making? You know, when your heart is not in it, the audience, trust me, the audience can feel it when a film just feels like a cash in, when it feels hollow. But if you're true to yourself and you make the kind of films that you actually want to watch, believe me, you will find an audience eventually, even if it's a smaller audience, a more focused audience, but that audience will become fans of yours. They will love your unique voice that you bring to the table through filmmaking, the kind of films that you bring out to the world. They will become fans of what you do next, right? Look at a director like Jeremy Saulnier, right? He made a very interesting film called Blue Ruin. Then he followed that up with Green Room. These are films that have a very unique voice to them. They are crime films but told in such a gritty, brutal, realistic manner. So you can see his stamp on everything because he cares. This is, if you look at his interviews, this is the kind of films he grew up on. He grew up on Coen Brothers style films, and it just oozes out from his actual filmography as well. Now, to understand the kind of films that you actually would want to make, you have to watch a lot of films. Now, as a filmmaker, I'm hoping you're doing that anyway. You're watching a lot of films, but in this case in particular, you need to watch different kind of films, good films, bad films. That's how you will know what your palette is. What kind of films do you dig? Even if it's within a genre, what kind of horror films do you dig? Do you like gory films? Do you like more psychological films? Do you like slow-paced, more dramatic horror films? Do you like more slasher movies? You will eventually find the kind of films that you like and the kind of films that you don't like. And that way, that'll inform your sort of taste. And when you develop a taste, that's the most invaluable asset when it comes to films. Your taste, your voice. You might say that, oh, this advice feels like it's just sort of boxing you into a certain kind of film. I disagree. I don't think that's the case at all, because it's not that you just like watching horror films, so you're just going to keep making horror films. Maybe you want to make a comedy, right? That's fine. What kind of comedies that you like to watch, right? For me, I like absurd comedies, something that has a weird supernatural twist to them. So whenever I have dabbled into the genre of comedy, I've always kept that in mind. So whenever you see something that I've made, it will always have my flavor to it. What is my comedy? What would Faisal Hashmi do if I had to make a comedy? What would my Western be? What would be my horror film? You know, because I know what kind of films I like and what kind of films I don't like, you will find my stamp in every single genre. It hasn't boxed me in. I love making horror movies. I love making thrillers. I love making sci-fi. But I still try to bring my own stamp to them. There are certain types of movies within those genres that I don't like making, and I don't try to make them. Now, it would have been so easy for me to sort of manufacture what I would call a festival bait sort of a short film, something that really hits upon a certain social message, which is something that's really common if you want to win awards. I love watching those films. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy watching those films. They are quality cinema, but they're not the kind of films that really appeal to me in terms of telling a story. These are not the films that I would pay to watch in cinemas if somebody else would have made them. So I don't try to chase those films. It would have been really easy to manufacture a film like that, to sort of win awards, win accolades, and kind of put those laurels all over my poster and be like, look, this is the kind of film that I've made. And I know people who do that. I know people who look at the algorithm of what really kind of clicks in terms of film festivals, what's the kind of film that will get me in an official selection into this film festival, and they make them, and somehow people figure it out. Like I said, people figure it out. Those film festivals reject those kind of movies. And now at the end of the day, you have spent 2 years, 3 years, maybe sometimes even 4 years making a film that you don't really care about. The only reason you made them was to win awards, and ironically, you didn't, or nobody cared for them. So what was the point, right? You could have spent that time making one or maybe even two of the kind of film that you love, and maybe you wouldn't have won awards. There's certainly films that I've made where I haven't won awards, and ironically, those have been the ones that I've been the most proud of, because every time I watch them again, I feel like that was a reflection of what kind of films I wanted to watch back then. Many of them, even the kind of films that I like to watch right now. So that's it. That's the advice that I wanted to give you. Something that really, really changed the way that I look at filmmaking, my outlook on life, my outlook on my career, and just a kind of filmography that I want to leave behind, or even whether it comes to short films, whether it comes to feature films, the approach to filmmaking. So that advice really changed my life. Is there any advice that you received in your careers that really changed your life? I would love to know. Please let me know in the comments below. And once again, I'm working on a lot of videos like this. So if you like what you see, do subscribe and you'll be in the loop for any future videos. Until then, don't just move the camera, move the audience. Cheers.